So depending on which country or city you live in, COVID-19 could be either not much of a concern at all, or it could be a super-sized big deal. Many governments are now asking people to stay home. So how do people date during a pandemic? Let's take a look at this problem. First, there's the old-fashioned telephone, or you can call it the new age cell phone. It's the same way you would communicate with, let's say, grandma or grandpa. Right? Most people are asked not to go visit or hug their granny, so you should phone them. You can FaceTime, you can use Skype. There's a lot of electronic methods that you can communicate without a face-to-face contact. You can also text. And today's dating world is something called sexting. That's a term that nobody would know what it meant in the last generation. So there are plenty of ways you can communicate electronically without face-to-face. In fact, some families are so serious with the self-isolation that even people within the same family, in the same home, they're staying in their bedroom and they're using a phone to call each other just across the wall or across the door. Now, there's a lot of things that you can do using a telephone while dating. So let's take a look at your options. For example, let's say you want to do a coffee date. Now, you cannot go to the coffee shop or the cafe to meet up. That means you have to brew your own coffee. Hopefully you've got some coffee grains at home. And then you can FaceTime each other or Skype each other or video call, video chat each other while having your coffee. If you want to have a dinner date, there's a lot of places that are offering takeout or online delivery. So you can order your delivery together. You can even pay for her meal, or maybe it's her turn to pay for yours. And then you wait for the delivery and you eat in front of your webcam. You can share your dinner, you can show each other what you're having. You can't really spoon the food into each other's mouths, but at least you know what you're eating and you can have a nice chat. Watching a movie together, that's easy. How about playing music or singing together? You can do that virtually. There are actually orchestras right now that are doing virtual performances. So that's where musicians are playing their music instruments, playing their part of the orchestra or their part of the symphony from their own home and recording their part, and someone's putting all the parts together into a virtual orchestra. So you can certainly sing together or play music together. You can blow kisses into the camera, or you can kiss the camera, kiss each other goodnight, always telling each other to stay healthy. Right? You always want to wait for the day when this is all over so you can meet in person again. In fact, even if you want to get intimate, you can do that because there's something called a webcam. You can do a lot of R-rated stuff that I cannot stay here. And the best part of it is you cannot get pregnant by accident. I've never heard of anybody telepathically transmitting the sperm over the telephone to fertilize an egg on the other end of the line. So if she gets pregnant, you don't need a paternity test. Somebody cheated. On the other hand, if you want to get pregnant on purpose, now that's a whole different story that we'll get into later. You have to circumvent social distancing laws somehow if you're not living together already. Now, what if you want to actually see each other in person? Once again, going back to the beginning, that's going to depend on where you live. Some places, that's perfectly fine. But even with restrictions, you can certainly still go outside their home and wave. You can hold up signs and banners, I love you signs, hold up hearts, balloons. You can order flowers for your love. Certainly, that's how some people are visiting their grandparents and their great-grandparents, right? They're looking at each other through a window and waving through a window. Now, some cities will allow you to go out to meet in person, but they will probably ask you to keep your distance. And that means you probably have to stay 6 feet apart or 2 meters apart. And if the parks are not closed, then I suppose you can go to the park and sit down on a park bench together, except you'll be on one end of the park bench and your love will be on the other end of the park bench, and you will not be facing each other. Instead, you will both be staring at the grass in front of you and just talking to the wilderness. And you'll be listening with your ears. You do not need to look at someone with your eyes to hear them with your ears. right? You don't use your eyes to listen, you use your ears to listen. Of course, you might want to use your eyes to check each other out because he's handsome and she's beautiful, right? So you want to check each other out. Now, what happens if you start inching closer together? Then you've got a problem because now you've violated physical distancing requirements. That there's something called masks. You can put on a mask and inch closer together. And if you want to hold hands, then you have to both put on gloves and you'll be holding hands wearing gloves, or you'll be holding each other's gloves. What if you want to kiss each other? Then I guess you have to kiss each other with your mask on. I'm not sure if that works. Does that even work? Never tried. How about you try it and tell me? And very important, don't touch your face and don't touch each other's face. Now, what if you live in a place where it's forbidden to leave your home for purposes like dating? Then you have to use the good old cliche TV method, right? This is the method where you crawl out of your window and you climb down your rain spout, and then you have to sneak to her home or his home, and you have to avoid the police while doing so, and then you climb up his or her water spout and enter through their window. Now on TV, that works. Except on TV, you always get caught on your way home afterwards. So the alternative is you have to use the Mexican drug dealer method. So this is where you dig a tunnel from your home to the other person's home. Or if you know how to do it properly, you can dig from your end and your lover can dig from the other end and you meet up in the middle. The third method you can use is the Pokemon method. This is where you teleport from one home to another home. However, I think that only works in game life. I don't really think you can teleport in real life. At least not yet. Probably not before this pandemic's over. Now, just one really big word of warning. If you decide to have a forbidden date or a forbidden sleepover, you better have lots of birth control ready. Because if you get pregnant, somebody is going to count back 9 months and ask, how on earth did you get pregnant during a quarantine? You've got some serious explaining to do. Finally, last topic, okay? Last question. What would you do if the love of your life is sick with COVID-19? Whoa, you have a few options here. So if the love of your life is sick with COVID-19, you could, A, you could be the good, caring boyfriend or girlfriend. Right? This is the good boy or the good girl. This is where you're going to check on him or check on her every day. You'll put on your mask and gloves, and you bring the groceries and bring the medications to their door. You'll wave from a distance. You'll basically do everything that you can to keep yourself healthy and strong so you can take care of your beau or take care of your belle. Or option B, this is the exact opposite, 180-degree opposite. You can be the cheater because you've always wanted to explore other cute dudes or hot chicks anyways. Now you can. Your boyfriend or your girlfriend is sick. So you start by online dating, right? You meet some new faces online. You do some virtual and telephone dating. No one's going to get pregnant and you won't come home. You will not come home with an STI. And certainly you will not come home with the coronavirus. So it's a safe thing to do. Is it really cheating if you don't have sex? Well, it is open to interpretation. Some people say it is still cheating. But at least you can decide whether or not you want to give your current boyfriend or girlfriend the pandemic dump. Right? That's like adding insult to injury. First they get sick, and then they get dumped. Because you want to dump them anyways. You're just waiting for the chance. Doesn't sound like you like them very much. If you want to give them insult to injury, add some salt to the wound. Now there is option C. This is the Romeo and Juliet ending. You know that you cannot live without the love of your life. So if he or she is sick, you might as well poison yourself with the coronavirus. What does that mean? That means you take off that darn mask and you have the most passionate kiss while one of you is coughing your lungs out. Might as well. You might never get another kissing chance again this lifetime. But here's the big but. In Romeo and Juliet, there are two poisons. There's the fake poison, which you eventually wake up from. And then there's the real deal. This is the poison that guarantees death. Now, COVID-19 does not guarantee death. only a few percent of infected people die from COVID-19. So in all likelihood, if you're both sick with COVID-19, you will not both die from the disease, unless you're both really old or you're both immune compromised, or both. Most likely, you will both survive the disease together, but know that it might not guarantee you immunity from reinfection forever. Or perhaps one of you could die, but you don't know who. You won't know who is going to be the one to casket, and you won't know who's the one to live to mourn. So maybe a smarter thing to do is to keep a sperm and egg sample. In case one of you don't make it, you can still have a kid, and you will still be able to see your lover when you look into the eyes of your future child. Yes, you will be a single mom or single dad, but it's the best thing that the love of your life could leave behind for you to cherish. Anyways, the real best thing is not to have to make that choice in the first place. So, be strong, have hope, stay healthy. Share love, don't spread COVID-19. Thank you.